Alice had always dreamed of owning her own home, and when she found the charming old house on Maple Street, she knew it was meant to be. The house, with its creaky floors and antique charm, seemed perfect. She moved in with high hopes and big plans, unaware of the restless spirit that awaited her. The first few nights were peaceful, but then subtle disturbances began. Alice would find objects moved from their places, books off the shelves, kitchen utensils scattered, and doors open that she was sure she had closed. She brushed it off as the quirks of an old house, but the unease lingered. One night, as she lay in bed reading, she heard a faint, persistent tapping coming from the walls. She tried to ignore it, but it grew louder, echoing through the empty rooms. Frustrated and a little frightened, she called David. "You're probably just hearing the house settling," David assured her over the phone. "Old houses make weird noises. I'll come over and check it out tomorrow." True to his word, David arrived the next day. They spent the afternoon examining the house, but found nothing unusual. "See? Nothing to worry about," he said, pulling Alice into a reassuring hug. That night, however, the disturbances escalated. Alice was awoken by the sound of footsteps in the hallway. She sat up, heart pounding, and listened as the footsteps grew closer. The doorknob to her bedroom turned slowly, and the door creaked open. She saw no one, but felt an icy chill fill the room. "Alice?" David's voice called from his makeshift bed on the couch downstairs. "Did you hear that?" "Yes," she whispered back, her voice trembling. They spent the rest of the night huddled together in the living room, the oppressive feeling of being watched hanging over them. The next day, Alice called Lena, who was known for her interest in the paranormal. Lena arrived with a bag full of equipment, EMF detectors, a digital recorder, and even a Ouija board. "I know you're skeptical, but we need to find out what's going on," Lena said, setting up her gear. As they conducted their investigation, the EMF detector spiked erratically, and they captured faint whispers on the recorder. Lena suggested they used a Ouija board to communicate with whatever was in the house. Alice hesitated but agreed, desperate for answers. They gathered around the board, placing their fingers on the planchette. "Is there anyone here with us?" Lena asked. The planchette moved slowly, spelling out, "Why, yes." "Who are you?" Alice asked, her voice shaking. "Jacob." "Jacob," David repeated. "What do you want?" "HELP." Alice felt a pang of sympathy. "How can we help you, Jacob?" The planchette spelled out, "FINDMYBODY." A cold dread settled over them. "Where should we look?" Lena asked, but the planchette stopped moving. Determined to solve the mystery, they searched the house and found an old, dusty journal hidden in the attic. It belonged to a previous owner who wrote about a young boy named Jacob who had gone missing many years ago. The entries hinted at a tragic accident and a hastily covered-up death. Alice and David decided to investigate further, digging in the garden where the journal suggested Jacob's body might be. After hours of grueling work, they unearthed a small skeleton wrapped in tattered cloth. The sight confirmed their worst fears. Jacob had been buried there, his spirit trapped, longing for peace. They called the authorities, who handled the remains with care and respect. The discovery of Jacob's body made headlines, and the local community was both shocked and saddened by the revelation of the boy's tragic fate. The police promised a thorough investigation into the circumstances surrounding his death, although it was clear that answers would be hard to come by after so many years. With Jacob's remains properly taken care of, Alice hoped the disturbances would cease. That night, they performed a small ceremony in the garden, lighting candles and saying a prayer for Jacob. Lena suggested they use the Ouija board one last time to ensure Jacob had moved on. Gathered once again around the board, they asked, "Jacob, are you still here?" The planchette moved slowly to NO and then to THNKYOU before coming to a stop. Relief washed over them. Alice finally felt at peace, believing they had helped Jacob find the rest he deserved. The oppressive atmosphere lifted, and the house felt warmer and more welcoming. In the following weeks, the house was free of disturbances. Alice, David, and Lena resumed their normal lives, though they often spoke of Jacob with fondness, feeling a deep connection to the young boy whose spirit they had helped set free. Alice continued her renovations, turning the old house into a beautiful home. The experience brought her closer to David and Lena, and they often reminisced about the strange and haunting events, grateful for the bond it had forged between them. As the seasons changed, Alice planted a small garden in the spot where Jacob's remains had been found. It flourished, becoming a vibrant and colorful tribute to the boy who had found peace at last. And whenever the wind rustled the leaves or a candle flickered just so, Alice couldn't help but smile, feeling a gentle, reassuring presence watching over her home. Years later, whenever Alice sat in her garden, she would think of Jacob. The house on Maple Street had many stories, but none as profound as the one they had uncovered together. And in the quiet moments, Alice felt a sense of tranquility, knowing that sometimes even the most restless spirits could find their way home.